Thank you. Can we do the lighting?
Yeah.
So this one's off or down? Please. Left. Last class, trailers did good. If you've been to most of them or some of them, you did really good. This was a hard course. So we have a little home stretch, and then I've got a pep talk. And then finish. Yeah, everything finished. So, first of all, please think of your motivation. Why you come? Why you come here? Why you want to know this stuff? Or is it just another thing? If it's another thing, elevate it, accept it, acknowledge it. Oh, I'm just busy. Good. Move from busy to why busy? Can I get something out of it? And grow something. If you've already got that, awesome. Expand it and say, who can I help with it? Out of all the people that I interact with all the time, my world, it's rare to think about these things. You know, I was just listening to people on the train, and so they're worried about fashion or who said what. And it's not just the thing I'm saying, it's actually true. You know, people are worried where we're going for dinner, and did she say something, and heard a guy at the coffee shop going, it didn't work again. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about, but it didn't work. It's like, no surprise, you know. So there's very few people that I know that A, have the opportunity to have this kind of information stuffed down their throat for a consistent number of weeks for something that can transform the way you view the world. On the way here I had a little bit of time because I made a mistake. I went to an appointment that didn't happen, so I had a little bit of time to walk around, and I was trying a practice of trying to see things without my history on them, trying to conceive of things anew, trying to conceive of things without my labels that I've habituated. You know, I couldn't do it. We only see what we habituate. You know, if I say to you something like, imagine the face of my neighbor when I was 10. Yeah, he had black hair and he was short. You know, he had shiny teeth, but the middle one was missing. You've filled in a whole bunch of information with those words that are of your making, and you didn't choose them. They came from your habituation. So tonight I want to talk about the final class of Death in the Realms, which is let's consider everything we've talked about and let's see what we've got habituated, because that's what's coming up when we do this thing called death. That's what's coming up. So we have a precious human life. It's not just a Tibetan thing that they say. It's something that we're supposed to keep in our hearts all the time. And death awareness meditation is the point of having that alertness in our minds all the time. So when that transition comes, there's no death that we think of death. But there is a transition. And that transition is a direct result of what we've habituated, consciously and unconsciously. It's not like someone's guiding you from outside and pushing you, it's you. It's what you say, what you do, and what you think. That's karma. So here's an opportunity to really ramp up your motivation to say, why am I listening to this stuff? Because we get so used to being familiar with ideas that we tend to not see anything other than what we're used to seeing. And if we're used to seeing normality, we begin to bring normality onto something that can truly propel you out of a cyclical state of being. That's cyclical because of ignorance, of not knowing. There's an opportunity here to know. And then in the knowing there's no rejection and there's no attraction in an ignorant way, and there's no fear, and without fear, death isn't death, it can be something magnificent. It has no nature from its design of deathness. So, my job is to share that with you today for the last time for 6 weeks or more. And I hope you use it for something truly special. Yeah. So here we go, let's start.
Sashi
Puki Jishin Metotram Rira Vinshin Indegam Pardi Sange Shindu Mite Duargi Dropun Namda Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniryatayami
Sange
Chidam Zogi Jornam La Janshu Bardu Dagni Kyapsuchi Daki Chejegi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Driparsho
Sange
Chidam Zogi Jornam La Janchu Bardu Dagni Gyapsuchi Daki Chejegi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Driparsho
Sange
Shidam Zogi Jornam La Jangchu Bardu Dagni Kyapsuchi Daki Chinyengi Pesonam Ki Drola Benchir Sange Driparsho.
So I'll try to confuse you a little bit by, I finally found the thing you say when you teach, which is chushe. So when you're by yourself, you say by the virtue of what I'm doing, jinso. When you're doing it in a group, by the virtue of hearing the Dharma, che being Dharma, yen, to hear, chushe. And then I'm supposed to say by the virtue of speaking Dharma. So, premise for the class. I just spent the weekend in Arizona seeing 31 people complete 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of getting to know at the most subtle level possible for them how their psyche functions to create that perception of life. To get to know what their mind is at the deepest level they could each get to through practices that are prescribed for 2,500 years. So trying them, they all started listening to classes and going to more classes and racking their brains and failing and taking refuge and taking other vows and succeeding and failing and trying and erroring, frustrating and happy and connected and disconnected and angry and happy, and in all that, somehow they got pushed into a 3-year, 3-month, and 3-day retreat. They had the courage to go in. I'm going to go in and figure out if I can find out what's happening. So remove all distractions, remove all people, remove everything, create a little environment, which is in a hut or a house or a room for some, put a fence around it, leave a box outside the fence and let someone drop in food every 2 weeks, or medicine, or building supplies when the water bursts, or anything like that. So for 3 years, 3 months and 3 days. And I knew most of these people going in. And they all had a hard time at the beginning. Without exception, they said they had some hardships. Because when you shut down all the distractions, you're left with yourself creating distractions. And each of them had their own particular flavor of things to overcome for themselves. It'd be pride, or it'd be anger, or it'd be boredom, or it'd be whatever for each of them. Each of them had their own part of the practices that they hadn't yet gotten right. So they said around 18 months it took for them to feel like they were in retreat. 18 months without talking, without seeing parents, family, friends, without seeing anyone else. In the off times they would see each other, but they would not talk to each other. They would come together. Those that chose to did some rituals and then go away. 4 people said to me, I went and seeked counsel with each of them as much as I could, spend a little bit of time and just said, what's it like really? What was it like? And 4 of them said, separate to each other, that they can say with certainty that this is a valid path. And valid path meaning you reach a certain result from certain practices. If you do the mixture, you get cake. If you do the right ingredients, you get cake. You don't get rock, and you get the cake designed for the mixture. And I was trying to explain in the last couple of days to people how it affected me, because it's one thing, and I've thought about them many, many times in the last 3 years, meditating and feeling frustration with the wonderful things that happened and the terrible things that happened. And I was thinking about them a lot. But like I said at the beginning, I couldn't think of them outside my conception of seeing them. Without my labels, without my assumptions of what they were dressed like, what they smelled like, and it was limited to the reality until I got there and I walked into the Psalm, which is the area where no one gets in or out, and then walked into some of their huts and their houses and the places that they sat down for 3 years, the altars they put together, the bed that they slept in, until I walked in there and I stood next to them. It didn't dawn on me the reality of what it is to do that. To spend 3 years of your life thinking, I want to fix this, I want to find out where it is that this life comes from, the way I see it. And so just by sheer virtue of standing next to them, all this information gets transferred in the way they talked, in the way that the posture was. I knew my mind had them locked 2-3 years ago, their personalities locked and their identity locked 2-3 years ago, and all of them were not that. And it was really beautiful to see that transformation is possible if you dedicate yourself, good or bad, to something. 38 went in, 31 came out, and those 31 are completely transformed. So I hope that for you, I hope that at whatever level you can do something like that. That's what this is for. If you get that spark to say, have I looked enough at life? Have I seen all the possible ways to live? And do I choose them, or do I choose something else? For some reason, you're sitting here and I'm sitting here. I don't know why we get to talk about these things, But I know for me that there's a deep, deep calling, and there has been for a long time, turn this mixture into a cake, you know, into a nice cake. And that's my effort, and that's my goal. And these people have turned it into a magnificent cake with icing, some of them, icing that you could see shining through their eyes as they talk to you. With knowledge and not with, you know, most of the courses I'm telling you about is this, oh, the Buddha said this, or Geshe Michael said that, and I can tell you what someone else said. But to stand in front of 31 people that can tell you what something means because they've experienced it is very, very different. Palpable and real. And these people are walking amongst you now. We've invited all of them, anyone who's willing to come to the East Coast, to come and share that insight and teach a little and talk and workshop. Yeah. So at least 4 of them have said they'll come in June. So I hope you come and spend time with them and just ask and share and see what that's like to be next to somebody who has filled their consciousness with a whole bunch of other concepts that when put together create a puzzle that the picture is magnificent and transformative. So when they said to me it's a valid path, I recognize that this piece of the puzzle, when we are in class, we're not getting the pieces of the puzzle, we're getting the location of the puzzle inside of us. And our job is to meditate and practice and think these through until we've habituated that thought enough that the puzzle piece materializes. And then you do some extraordinary thing like meditate for a month or 3 months, and then the piece of the puzzle connects to another one, it doesn't disconnect. It's not too many pieces of the puzzle, but that's in essence our job. And then that puzzle piece, that picture that gets created by those pieces is like a vortex. You push through and out of this cycle. And that's what we're doing really now, and we're not doing that for us only. If you can master the motivation to recognize the fact that, as many times as we've said it, the grand majority of beings on this planet will die without knowing how to conceive of it. There is nothing for them to connect to. You have, as little as we've talked about it, you have some conception about the processes of death, the ultimate nature of emptiness and karma, and how it's possible to see that experience as a transformation and not some self-existent loss of control of something ending, you know. I mean, what's his name, that Thai monk, the Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. He talks about, from the Theravada point of view, you know, they're big on dependent arising, and he talks about there's no death of a cloud. When the cloud turns to rain, it's not that thing stopped, it's just that it's no longer cloud like we know cloud, but the stuff is rain, and then it's river, and then it's drink, and then it's ocean, and then it's cloud. There is no stopping. And if that's true of the physical, then it's true for the non-physical, the energies that make us up. So let's talk a quick review. Think about what you can do with this stuff. It's beautiful stuff. And I hope you create a puzzle piece out of it. What are we studying? Okay, so there were there they go, very nice. It was up there already. There was one more text that I covered that wasn't from here. Do any of you remember it? Greatest book ever written by a Tibetan.
It's like the Lamrim, but it's not. It's the
Cool.
The other one.
Nice. It's the one that the Lamrim Chema was based on, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you remember what that was?
Tibetan subject of death.
No. What was it? Computers are great things. There's that. And tonight's class comes from a special section of the Lamrim channel. So when you get to that one, let me know. Yeah. Let's do a quick review of the 3 layers of realms. I'm going to call them 3 layers of realm, 3 ways of conceiving being. Quick.
Daelan?
Path to bliss.
Right.
Cool. That's one of them, but there was another one. Who wrote Path to bliss?
Panchang Lobsang Chuki Geltsen?
Right. You'll get to spend a bunch of time with Losang Chuki Gyaltsen if you enter the tantric courses and the path, the much of.
Like physically?
Yeah. Give me 3 layers of the realms.
Desire, form, and formless.
Good. Give me qualities of them each.
Desire is based on fleeting sex.
Cool.
Form is where form reaches its peak.
Cool.
And formless has no form and feel like extension
Go on. It's mostly mental.
of. Yeah.
Okay, good, but it's still afflictive. Yeah, so that's good. Where do you see emptiness directly?